What is next? We are about to find out. Valentino Rossi in front of the home crowd. Can he repeat his race victory from last season? Can he repeat his race victory from Silverstone? Can he extend that lead of 12 points in the World Championship? Their confirmation of those tyre choices.
It's only Marc Marquez on the front row that's changed at the last minute. Marquez and on that medium front, as we suspected, Rossi and Lorenzo not gambling.
Front row of the grid, Valentino Rossi in the middle of the front row. Marc Marquez still chasing that first ever victory here at Misano. In pole position, he has only finished first or second in every appearance he has made at Misano. He trails Valentino Rossi by 12 points. Jorge Lorenzo in pole. So welcome back to Misano. I'm Nick Harris, sitting alongside me, Matt Burt, down in pit lane. Whoa, round 13 of the MotoGP World Championship.
Lorenzo Marquez, the home hero, Rossi on the front row. Row 2, Pedrosa, career best fifth from Michele Pirro, and another second row start for Bradley Smith.
Third row, the Ducatis of Andrea Iannone, Andrea Dovizioso and Danilo Petrucci. Row 4, Aleix Espargaro, Cal Crutchlow and Pol Espargaro.
Row 5 headed by Scott Redding, Maverick Vinales and Yoni Hernandez. Row 6 leading open class qualifier Loris Baz ahead of Jack Miller and Hector Barbera. Row 7 the two Aprilias, Bradle and Bautista ahead of Eugene Laverty, D'Ameglio, Hayden and Corti on the 8th row.
Completing row 9, Carol Abraham and the local boy Alex De Angelis. Dylan, how is it looking?
Well, it's looking, it's dry. That's the main thing. We just had the Tech 3 team actually help Danny Pedrosa start his bike, which was very nice of them on the grid. One interesting thing to note about Marquez's tyre choice going to that medium front, he did test that this morning in the warm-up, a used one and a dry one.
Sorry to butt in, Dylan, but it looks like Michele Pirro is having problems with the Ducati.
Oh, what a nightmare for the Ducati wildcard. He was about to start this 28-lap race from a career best 5th place on the grid, but that factory Ducati GP15 being wheeled back to the pit lane. What a big disaster for Pirro.
Keep that concentration up, that's the word for Jorge Lorenzo. Focus on anything else. They're out on their warm-up lap. Listen to that crowd when Valentino Rossi comes into view. Dylan, can you look up in the sky for us?
Yeah, I've just been hit with a few minor drops. So me saying it was dry was a bit of a lie, but I mean very, very minute drops. I'm just heading up to see Pirro to see what's happened there. I was also talking very briefly with Santi Milera. He's Alex Rins's crew chief, and he said the Moto 2 guys really struggle with front end feeling. So Marquez's move may have been a stroke of genius.
Oof. It just cannot be a straight, easy race, can it? As always, there's Michele Pirro. You seem to have got the bike started now.
No,
he's started.
That's his wet tyre bike.
He's always out on his wet tyre bike. You see the wet tyres there.
They've obviously got issues with that bike that's fitted with the slicks that he was going to start the race. So the only way that he can get out for the start is to go out on wet tyres.
So big problems from Michele Pirro, who starts from that middle. There is the official attendance. 92,315 spectators here at Misano. It's round 13 of the MotoGP World Championship. A record crowd. Front row, Lorenzo Marquez and Valentino Rossi.
92,500 people crammed in to this 2.626 miles Misano World Circuit. Marco Simoncelli, the latest showdown between Valentino Rossi and Jorge Lorenzo. They've stuck with that hard option front tyre. They had to stick with what they know. They can't be taking risky tyre gambles with so much at stake. There's Marc Marquez. He has changed to that medium front tyre. As Dylan said, is that a masterstroke, a tactical stroke of genius from the reigning world champion? We're about to find out.
So round 13 of the championship in front of a record crowd here at Misano. Number 46, the local hero. He's got the inside line, but it's Jorge Lorenzo in pole. Marc Marquez, Valentino Rossi, look out from Bradley Smith from that second row of the grid. Let battle commence here in Italy.
It was a great start by the pole man, Jorge Lorenzo. What a launch by the number 99. He's going to lead into the first corner. Rossi had a look up the inside of Marc Marquez. Marquez into second place. Bradley Smith got a great start from the second row. He's up into fourth. Pedrosa back in fifth. But this is what Marquez and Rossi feared. Lorenzo at the front on the first lap.
Well, it's the big fear for all the other riders. Lorenzo launching off the start. He leads the way through turns 4 and 5, now through turn 6. The man that has finished first and second here on every appearance. Marquez, I think, will get at him as soon as he can.
Down on the brakes for turn 8 for the first time. Bradley Smith's dropped back behind Danny Pedrosa and Andrea Iannone, the British rider, back in 6th place. It was a bad start from Cal Crutchlow. He's down in 13th. But it's Lorenzo from the reigning champion, Marc Marquez. Danny Pedrosa has a look up the inside of Valentino Rossi at turn number 10. Rossi closes the door on the Spaniard.
Up they come towards the Cavoni corner, absolutely flat out, and then spots the rain on the camera lens once again as they race through.
It's still you know, not heavy enough, so that it's not staying on the asphalt. So these guys have to keep pushing as much as they possibly can to keep temperature in those tyres.
And here comes Danny Pedrosa again, having another nibble up the inside of Valentino Rossi. But Lorenzo, where everybody but that Yamaha side of his garage feared he would be coming into the end of the first lap.
Rossi already struggling to match the opening lap pace of Lorenzo and Marquez. He's 6/10 of a second behind the race leader, Jorge Lorenzo. We're about to complete the first lap here in Misano. Lorenzo leads the way by 3/10 of a second from Marc Marquez. The white flag being waved. The riders can now come into the pits to change their bikes if we have a flag-to-flag situation. More drama here in Misano.
Oh, the weather could play a part once again, as it did 2 weeks ago at Silverstone in England. Lorenzo leads, Marquez, Rossi, Pedrosa, Iannone, Bradley Smith. Oh, it just must play on the riders' minds also when they see that flag going out. They're feeling all the conditions all the time. Dylan.
Well, yeah, the reaction from pit lane has been, obviously, all the bikes, the second bikes were prepared for wet. They're now just putting the tyre warmers on, really getting them ready. They've already been warmed up. We are getting a few more fatter drops of rain falling. It's still not that point where they should come in. Obviously, bear in mind, the man who's out on a wet bike is Michele Pirro, because they still haven't managed to fix his dry.
It could be a masterstroke without meaning it to be that. Let's hope the rain doesn't really pour down. It really will stutter. But as you can see, and there is frantic activity now in pit lane. And again on the camera lens, there's more spots of rain. We've seen not a sign of rain this whole weekend.
It's incredible. This came in just after the checkered flag was thrown at the end of the Moto 2 race. Jorge Lorenzo is already opening up a gap between himself and Marc Marquez. Look at Lorenzo stretching that lead through turn number 15. He's on the brakes for the final corner at the end of lap number 2. He leads by over 0.8 of a second. Lorenzo getting the hammer down early on here in Misano.
Yeah, they're telling him where Valentino Rossi is. It's Marc Marquez second, Rossi, Pedrosa, Andrea Iannone, Smith, Dovizioso, Aleix Espargaro, Scott Redding, Paul Espargaro, Crutchlow, Petrucci, Vinales, and Jack Miller completing the first 15. We were still waiting for Michele Pirro to complete that second lap. What cruel luck for the test rider for Ducati. Qualified on the second row of the grid. Problems on the grid. He had to come in and change bikes. Well, change bikes before the start of the race. And he's got the wet weather tyres. It could be the absolute masterstroke of all times. Well, masterstroke is when you mean it. He didn't mean that to happen.
The gap between Lorenzo and Marquez through the first split, just over half a second. Those rain spots still visible on the camera lenses trackside.
It's getting lighter. It's getting lighter. There is some positive news.
Thank you, Dylan. We're going to be using you an awful lot this afternoon. Marquez is not letting Lorenzo get away at the front. Lorenzo doesn't want them there, obviously, but if Rossi and Marquez can get there, Marquez, they want to give him a rough old time. That's the only way they're going to stop him winning this race, apart from the threat of the rain.
Through that third sector now to complete lap 3. Marquez has closed the gap now down to under 3/10 of a second. Valentino Rossi also coming back into contention. He's within half a second now of Lorenzo. We're on board with Marquez through this left hand of the final corner. Pick the bike up onto the fat part of the tyre, get on the gas on that short run to the finish line. Lorenzo still leads. Fastest lap of the race so far from the man in third place, Valentino Rossi, at 1:33.894. Rossi now within 0.3 of a second of Lorenzo. Game on.
Remembering Bruno when these three were on the front row of the grid, what was that, 4 weeks ago? There's still some spots around. We thought this was going to be the classic encounter. It wasn't. This could be the one we have been waiting for.
1:33.894 was the best lap from Rossi on that third lap. They power now down through that fast kink at turn number 7. Dani Pedrosa just about hanging on in 4th place. He's 0.6 of a second behind Valentino Rossi as they peel it through this long horseshoe. Turn number 8. Hard on the brakes now for this double right-hander. Turns number 9 and 10. Lorenzo still leading the way.
And we have Michele Pirro heading back into the pit lane. If they do change tyres, it'll have to be on the bike he's on now, because his other one is still there with the electrical wiring out. There seems to be a very big problem on there. And he actually hoped he could hop back onto it. Just a bit of confusion there, and the team are just telling him, no, you've got to stick with this one.
Yeah, poor old Michele Pirro.
But he's, sorry Nick, he is a prime example as to show what the conditions are like, as he is already shredding up that wet tyre. It is perfect for slicks out there at the moment. Going out on a wets would be fatal at the moment.
Lorenzo, Marquez, Rossi, Pedrosa, Iannone.
Tell you who's having a really good start to this Misano Grand Prix is Scott Redding. He's in 8th place. He's just taken that from Aleix Espargaro. Best lap of the race has come in from Jorge Lorenzo at the front at 1:33.273. Valentino Rossi's just lost another half a second on that previous lap.
We've seen Lorenzo do this before, and we've got excited before, and he has this ability at one moment in the race to suddenly up the pace, just if he thinks there's an inkling he'd get away. His board would tell him, and he will go. Marquez is going to have to ride very, very hard to stay with him.
Yeah, Scott Redding back in 8th. He's 0.7 of a second behind Andrea Dovizioso in 7th. It's a good fight between Iannone Smith and Dovizioso and Redding for that 5th place. On board with Marc Marquez now, coming down to turns number 9 and 10. We've seen a few crashes here this weekend, Dylan.
Yeah, and I do hate to keep coming in with this, but we are now the drops are getting a bit heavier again.
You keep coming in, Dylan, because this could play an absolutely crucial part in this round 13 of the championship. We can see the spots of rain also on the camera lens as they race absolutely flat out. Spots of rain there through that Cavoni corner.
Like we say, right now it's all about temperature, because these drops are not going to affect it from a grip point of view, just from a temperature point of view. That's why you need to push so hard just to keep those tyres, keep the heat in those tyres.
Well, Lorenzo's still doing a 1:33.2. That's only just over a second outside of his pole time, so the pace is pretty impressive as they come to complete lap number 5. Lorenzo leads the way. Here we go. The rain flag is being waved here on lap 6 in Misano. Lorenzo leads by over half a second from Marc Marquez.
Yeah, you can't really see any wet on the track at the moment, but as you say, it is all about the track temperature, and Lorenzo knows that. He's trying to open up the advantage at the front. Is the weather going to play a big part in this race? Lorenzo, Marquez and Rossi at the front, round 13 of the championship.
Cracking fight here for 4th place between Dani Pedrosa, Andrea Iannone, Smith, Dovizioso and Scott Redding.
Yeah, guys, that rain flag came out because it has literally just doubled. So now, rather than being drizzle, it's become light rain.
Yeah, you can see it clearly.
You can see it now on the camera lens. Ooh, he's going to make the first move. Horrible situation. There's Scott Redding going away. Everybody concerned about the weather. Smith getting up the inside there. And also up the inside is Andrea Iannone on Dani Pedrosa.
The man who's in the most precarious position here is the race leader, Jorge Lorenzo. He'll be the first one to hit these patches of rain. It's not affecting his speed at the moment. He's stretched his lead to almost 1 second over Marc Marquez as he comes down to turn number 14. What's the gap now? It is up still at 9/10 of a second. There's Lorenzo's crew. They've got that wet bike ready for the Spaniard if he comes in.
Yeah, all the tyre warmers now are coming off those bikes. They're going to have to start firing them up. They should already be up to temperature. These wet tyres have a very low operating temperature. This is also, it's not just tough for the riders, it's super tough for the mechanics, because they have to be ready at any time for the rider to come in, because there's no warning whatsoever.
Yeah, the lap times, they could drop dramatically on the last lap, Lorenzo was doing 1:33s. The pace has dropped by 6 seconds. That's how much this rain is having an impact on this race. Lorenzo down by 6 seconds. Loris Baz, Maverick Vinales, Aleix Espargaro, Stefan Bradl, there's a big gaggle of riders now coming into the pit lane to change to their wet bikes.
Well, it's just going to play into the hands of Valentino Rossi. See how well he rode in the rain at Silverstone. Here they come, piling in. Looks like Aleix Espargaro is one of the first ones out. At the front, the three men leading the way, still on slick tyres.
And remember, Aleix Espargaro is a great judge of that. He did the exact same thing in Aragon last year. He was first guy in and got his first podium on an open machine.
Scott Redding's crashed out.
Redding.
Yeah, Redding's on those slick tyres. He's the first rider to be caught out by these ever-increasing tricky conditions. Redding was in a great fight for fourth place. It's really tightened up now between the top three. Lorenzo desperately trying to judge the conditions. Where can he push? Marc Marquez has a big glance over his left shoulder to see where Valentino Rossi's going to be. This decision on when to pit could be pivotal in this race, but also for the World Championship. Valentino Rossi will be sitting there. He'll base his judgment entirely on what Lorenzo does.
And the bikes are being warmed up, as you can see. The Yamahas are being warmed up. When will Lorenzo come in? Marquez, you remember, Aragon, almost a year ago, made a big mistake. Didn't come in early enough. And both him and Danny Pedrosa crashed out of the race.
He's in. Lorenzo is sweeping into the pits. Lorenzo Marquez and Valentino Rossi are coming in to the pits. Drama indeed here in Misano. We've had glorious conditions here all weekend. And on the 7th lap of the MotoGP race here, all the top riders now coming in for their wet weather tyre bikes.
Oh, great switch over there from Jorge Lorenzo. Lorenzo will lead the way out. There is Valentino Rossi. There's Valentino. Oh, problems for Marc Marquez. And it looks like Rossi has moved up. Oh, they go out side by side. 60-kilometre speed limit. Side by side, they go out in pit lane. I think Rossi must just hold the advantage.
The problem for Marc Marquez was Honda's right at the top end of the pit lane. That's why he looked like he made a slow start. There he is now. Michele Piro's coming back out on the track. He's ahead of Valentino. Oh, Rossi there. You can see how desperate Rossi was to get out onto the track behind Lorenzo Marquez. He got on the throttle coming through the pit exit and he almost lost the rear. Incredible there from Rossi. He's got to now try and find his way by Piro. Oh, they're tiptoeing. It's walking speed here. They're just trying to find out how wet this track is, what grip they've got on these wet tyres. Can it be any more dramatic here in Misano?
It certainly cannot. We cannot believe it started to rain after the weather when we arrived here on Wednesday, but raining it is. They both moved out of the way of Piro.
Guys, it is really now starting to rain, which you could argue is the one positive, because if these guys have switched to the wet bike, this is the kind of weather they're going to need.
Well, this is actually...
You can see, look at it, it's pouring with rain out there.
Yeah,
now.
Look at these guys. These are actually the top three in the race, believe it or not. Andrea Dovizioso, Bradley Smith and Cal Crutchlow, but they are all on slick tyres. You could just see as they got on the power there, Cal Crutchlow having a big twitch from the rear. Marc Marquez is in front of Jorge Lorenzo. Valentino Rossi's dropped right back on track, but Marquez, with absolutely nothing to lose in terms of the World Championship, has taken track position from Lorenzo. Dovizioso and Smith and Crutchlow leading on the road, but they have got to come into the pits at the end of this lap. They can't continue on the slick tyres.
Yeah, Dobby's bike is now fired up. Bradley Smith's bike as well, so the teams are fully prepared for them.
Yeah, so Marquez has taken full advantage of the conditions. Here we are. Marc Marquez now leads the way, chasing that first ever win here. Nobody has ridden on this track surface, certainly during this weekend, in wet conditions. They are really finding their way, and this is where the overtake took place.
Yeah, Lorenzo just got out wide through that turn number 8. Here's Andrea Dovizioso into the pit lane. Bradley Smith, well, he's taken a real roll of the dice because Smith's actually carried on. He stayed out there.
Well, there is quite light sky after this big flag, so you never know. There's a big chance they might have to switch back again.
But Bradley Smith, his last lap on slick tyres was a 2:06.839. That was 9 seconds behind Marc Marquez, who's out on the full rain tyres. Valentino Rossi on that last lap, a 1:57.5. He was 2.4 seconds behind Marc Marquez. He's absolutely lashing down now in the braking zone for Marc Marquez and Jorge Lorenzo at turn number 8. You can see why these riders were pretty quick to come into those rain tyres. It would have been an absolute, well, the complete wrong decision to try and gamble carrying on slicks.
Still a long way to go, 19.5 laps to go as you watch Valentino Rossi come towards 9 and 10. Remember how Rossi rode in the rain at Silverstone 14 days ago. Is this going to give him a real chance to repeat that victory, all finish in front of Jorge Lorenzo? You've got to say the big loser at the moment is Jorge Lorenzo, who is getting away at the front. Marquez is really on it now in the rain.
The two big things here, though, Nick, to consider are they'd had a wet warm-up at Silverstone, so they didn't go into the race with no wet weather experience. Of course, these riders would have never tried this new Misano surface also in the wet conditions, so this is really into unknown territory for these teams and riders. How grippy is this new Misano circuit? Well, these guys are about to find out.
Well, Marquez does lead the way. Remarkable scenes here. There we go, plus 3.5, Lorenzo's advantage over Valentino Rossi. And in some ways, I think Lorenzo won't mind following Marquez a little bit, just to really test out what this track surface is like in these conditions.
You can see there, Rossi's finally dropped his pace down to the level of Marquez and Jorge Lorenzo. Marquez a 151.223. Rossi was a 151.398, but he's 3.6 seconds behind Jorge Lorenzo. On the road, Danilo Petrucci, then it's Marquez, Lorenzo, Rossi. Petrucci, he won't mind these wet weather conditions after what happened to him at the British Grand Prix 2 weeks ago. Pol Espargaro 5th.
Yeah, and then we have Andrea Iannone, Danny Pedrosa, Bradley Smith, Andrea Dovizioso, Loris Baz going well, Crutchlow, Aleix Espargaro, Vinales, Hector Barber and Yoni Hernandez. That is your point scorers here. In some ways, it's a shame that
Marquez
the rain
run off.
Oh, Marquez runs off at turn 8. Well, off, runs wide, and Lorenzo retakes the lead.
Christmas came early for Jorge Lorenzo there at turn number 8, because Marquez, he was just stretching his lead out. We can clearly see him way too hot at turn number 8. He had no choice but to just run wide. Lorenzo says thank you very much. The Spaniard back in the lead.
Guys, I'm going to give you a pain again about the weather, because it is now back to a very light drizzle again. It's unbelievable how quickly conditions are changing.
What do you know? What do you think? Now, are they putting back
the tyre warmers are back on.
The tyre with slick tyre, yeah. So they're obviously worried about the weather as well, that it might dry up.
No, of course, because you've got the they've left the front tyres in. Obviously, they haven't done that many laps on the rear. I think with Lorenzo, they may have popped in a new rear. Depends if you had any left from your allocation. If you did, the teams can put a brand new slick in the back.
It looked like Yoni Hernandez and Alex De Angelis going down together there.
Yeah, definitely Yoni Hernandez, and we saw Alex De Angelis. That's an incident down at turn number 6. Boy, that's a fast crash going through turn number 6.
Almost 7 there, isn't it? That is quick.
Even in the rain, that's a fast crash. Back at the front, Lorenzo. Marquez has quickly got back onto the back wheel of Jorge Lorenzo, and Valentino Rossi on that last lap, the quickest man of the top 3. Rossi was 0.8 of a second faster than Lorenzo. The Italian now 2.5 seconds back of that fight for second place and the victory. Rossi now within 2 seconds. He's gone through the first split, 1.9 seconds. Oh, that was Yoni Hernandez lost control of his Pramac Ducati, and poor old Alex De Angelis, he was the innocent victim in that particular incident, coming through turn number 6.
Oh, this is... The stage is set for Valentino Rossi, isn't it? It appears he runs everything in this part of the world. It appears he may even be running the weather, doesn't it?
If you'd have said on the last lap of the Moto 2 race that this was going to be a wet race, you'd have been laughed out of the paddock, wouldn't you? I mean, nobody could see these rain conditions coming. Let's have a look at the gap now between, it's still 1.9 seconds between Marquez and Valentino Rossi. There is that gap progression. Valentino Rossi's picked up 0.6 of a second through those first 2 splits. The 36-year-old using all of his experience, just as he did 2 weeks ago in those tricky conditions at the British Grand Prix. It's coming down again.
It's coming down all the time. And the weather's changing as well. Lorenzo leads from Marquez, but everybody in Italy is now on their feet. Rossi is on the charge in 3rd place, and there's still 17.5 laps to go, and they're telling Marquez exactly what the situation is.
And you've got the and you've got the mechanics lined up again with the bikes, especially in Yamaha. They are waiting. I think they are expecting a judgment call relatively soon, because right now in pit lane there's practically no rain.
Rossi's right there. Now Marquez thought about a move up the inside of Lorenzo at that second corner. Lorenzo just held for Marquez again. Ooh, just thought he might have a nibble down the brakes into the fourth corner by Lorenzo. But there is Valentino Rossi coming right back into victory contention here in Misano. He's now down to 1.2 seconds. He's half a second now. He's found another 7/10 in that first sector. Rossi, as we said, he's right in this hunt now.
Down towards turn 8 they come. This is where Marquez made the mistake a couple of laps ago, and Lorenzo retook the lead. Marquez closes up. Everybody at Misano is going absolutely crazy. They're urging on the local boys in third place, but in these conditions he is closing all the time. He is the master of the wet, as we saw at Silverstone. We're back with Marc Marquez through turn 10.
Jorge Lorenzo looking to protect that great record he has here in Misano. Never finished outside of the top 2. Still lots of rain spots on the camera lens as they go through that turn number 11. Lorenzo and Marquez just pulled up a bit of a gap again on Valentino Rossi. Gets stretched out to 7/10 of a second in that second sector. They're coming up to the third split now. Rossi's pulled it back again though on Marquez. He's now within half a second. He's within striking distance of Marquez, who continues to pile the pressure on Lorenzo. Can't find a way through yet though on the number 99 through the final corner. Tension building in the Yamaha garage. So much at stake as they come to complete lap number 12.
16 laps to go, another epic race. Marquez again thought about getting up this side. Rossi now is right with them. The crowd are blowing him on. They're pushing him on. We ride with Valentino Rossi. Lorenzo and Marquez in front of him as they come up to 4 and 5. Then down this straight with a kink in the middle. Turn 8 could be where he may try to make a move. Is he close enough?
Valentino Rossi 1.1 seconds faster on the previous lap than the two men in front of him. He's streets ahead in terms of lap pace at the moment is the 36-year-old. There he is behind Lorenzo and Marquez down through that fast kink turn number 7. Is he going to move up the inside of Marquez at turn number 8? You can still see the rain falling down here at turn number 8. Rossi not close enough to strike against Marquez at that particular point. Through this double right-hander now, 9 and 10.
9 and 10 onto this long back straight with that frighteningly fast turn 11. Here is a Rossi. He's got right with them. Will he bide his time? The crowd going absolutely crazy. Lorenzo still leads the way. The rain still pours down as they come through the Cavoni corner. Is there some dry lines there? I don't think there is at the moment.
No, Nick, it is dry. Here in pit lane, there is no rain. There's no rain whatsoever down the main straight.
Tell you what, Nick, your eyes, they weren't deceiving you there, because that was a clear, distinct dry line emerging through turns 11 and turn 12. Are these riders at some point in this race going to have to make a second change back to their slick shod bike?
They are starting Jorge's bike. Sorry, Matt. They are starting Lorenzo's bike. They are starting Rossi's bike.
Oh. What try? Just could not be closer. They are. The two Yamahas, they are ready. They're back with the dry setup. They started with a dry setup. They came in, they changed the bikes to the wet setup. Now it's drying out. What else can be thrown at them?
Well, it's in, out, shake it all about at the moment, isn't it? Valentino Rossi still in third place. Lorenzo, you can just see there is a slight dry line just appearing on lap number 14. They crossed the line last time. Rossi was still 3/10 behind Lorenzo.
Guys, the dummy is, the test dummy is Claudio Corti. He's just gone from wets onto slicks. Claudio Corti.
Why? He's the first one then to make the move. Claudio Corti has made the move. Here is Rossi. I'm sure he would have wanted that rain to continue. Jorge Lorenzo must be thinking, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Loris Baz, his teammate, has also followed suit now on slicks, so definitely keep an eye on those guys.
Cool, there can't be many flag-to-flag races where the riders have gone out on slicks, changed to wets, and then come back in yet again for another bike change. Back at the front, it's still Lorenzo. Marquez up the inside of Jorge Lorenzo at turn number 10. Marquez has got the inside line, but Well,
Didn't get the drive out of the corner, didn't he? And Valentino Rossi moves into second place behind Jorge Lorenzo. Rossi up into second place. When are they going to make the move, though? Back into the pits. Rossi thinks about getting up the inside. And here they come into turn 14. Marquez on the outside, Rossi on the inside. Lorenzo still leads the way.
I don't know whether Marquez missed a gear there or whether he just thought, I'm going to see what these two Yamahas do. Are they going to come into the pits? I don't want to be leading. I'll let the Yamahas make the decision for me. Lorenzo and Rossi, they're going round for another lap on these wet tyres. They're coming to complete lap number 14. Valentino Rossi now the main challenger for Jorge Lorenzo.
14 laps to go. Rossi closes up at turn 1. Marquez, I think you're probably right, says, right, let's see what you guys think of the conditions. I'll hang with you. And you guys make the decision when to come in. Yeah, he has a good look behind him, didn't he?
Yeah, he did have a good look behind him there. Yeah, I wasn't sure if maybe he'd just missed a gear, but he had a clear look. Just to see where Rossi was, where Lorenzo was. Lorenzo still leads the way, though. Valentino Rossi in second place.
Down through turn 7. Turn 8 coming up. Rossi very close indeed. Rossi thinks about going up the inside. When is that decision going to be made? Dylan, how is it in pit lane?
Guys, loads of activity now. You look down. Marquez's bike still has the tyre warmers on. They have a little bit of luxury as being able to, you know, they're further down pit lane. So if the Yamahas enter, they still have time to get the tyre warmers up. The Yamahas are the first ones in pit lane. They don't quite have that luxury. Danny Pedrosa's bike ready, but most of the guys here are now ready to hop back onto drives. Scott Redding in, Jack Miller back in. They're going to be switching back.
Was that a bit of a moment there for Valentino Rossi, or am I imagining things?
The Yamaha gets much better drive than Marc Marquez coming out of that turn 10. They're onto the back straight. Here's Danilo Petrucci on the podium last time out at the British Grand Prix. He's in another great fourth place at the moment, ahead of Danny Pedrosa and Pol Espargaro. Back with the leaders. What's going to happen? Is Lorenzo going to come back into the pits for the second time? Rossi will base his decision entirely on what Lorenzo does. Lorenzo's going round again.
Yeah, and I'm absolutely certain Marquez will wait and see that decision as well. Right, so a little bit further down, try and sort things out. So it's Petrucci, and there is Danny Pedrosa running in 5th place, and they're still out there. Dylan, they've got to come in soon, haven't they?
Well, do you know what? It's ultimately, you know, it's very easy for us to say because there's a drying line. But if they're still doing times they feel are comfortable, you know, it's got to be down to them. But you'd imagine 1, maybe 2 more laps, and then back in. Obviously, the mechanics down here, they are really earning their money today because they essentially every time they go past the pit lane have to get the tyre warmers back on, stop the bike when they come back round the reverse. So no, frantic activity down here.
Down towards turn 7, there are 12.5 laps to go here at Misano. An amazing round 13 of the MotoGP World Championship. Lorenzo trails Valentino Rossi by 12 points in the championship. He leads the way. He would cut that down to 7 points if it remains the same, but with the weather, with Marc Marquez there, who knows what is going to happen in this last 12.5 laps.
Yeah, and as this track continues to dry, these wet tyres will just continue to overheat. They'll start turning to jelly. It'll be like riding on marbles. It looks like Marc Marquez is having some rear grip issues already on this drying track. He slipped almost a second now behind Valentino Rossi in second place.
Here's Pol Espargaro running in 6th place behind Danilo Petrucci and Danny Pedrosa. Good ride by Pol Espargaro. His teammate Bradley Smith's had a bit of a disaster, stayed out on those slick tyres, probably a little bit too long.
Well, guys, another factor is it's starting to drizzle again. So whilst you say, yes, the riders might want to come in, a drying line, bear in mind the effect this is going to have on their visor. And, of course, if you're on slicks and it starts drizzling again on an already damp track, that could be even more dangerous. So it's, do you know what? It is just such a gamble.
Valentino Rossi is eyeing up Jorge Lorenzo, and Valentino Rossi has taken the lead here in front of 92,000 passionate fans. Lorenzo fights back, they almost touch.
Oh, Rossi wipes Lorenzo's nose through turn number 2. The Italian leads. Listen to the noise of those 92,000 fans. You can barely hear yourself think in the commentary box here. Rossi at the front on lap number 17. Now, can he make a crucial break? Look at that dry line that's appearing now as they come through turn number 6. These top 3, don't forget, are on rain tyres. Rossi is making a real burst away at the front from Jorge Lorenzo.
Are they going to come in? When are they going to come? Dylan, we're seeing plenty of dry lines on the screen.
One of the theories with the wet tyre is actually when you know it's drying out, turn down the traction control even more. Try and get rid of the profile, because then you end up with a kind of a semi-slick, and that's going to give you that little bit more speed before you actually get into a pit lane.
Yeah, another staggering performance. Oh, Jacopo Agostini, 15 times world champion. He brought Yamaha that very first 500cc world title. I don't think Lorenzo's done for yet, but the weather is going to be crucial in this particular battle.
Look at that lap there, Nick. Sorry to butt in, but Loris Baz, we know, is back out on slick tyres. He's almost 9 seconds faster than the race leader, Valentino Rossi. So that is the differential in speed of these guys that have come back in for a second bike swap back to their slicks. There is number 76, Loris Baz. He is on slick tyres and 9 seconds quicker than that top 3 group who are still out on wets. Lap number 17 here in Misano.
The Loris Baz, there you go. Rear tyre, softer option. Slick tyres, been in twice to change. Rossi still leads the way from Lorenzo. Yes. What must be going through their minds, these riders out the front? What are they thinking? They're trying to work out. Oh, they're telling Jorge Lorenzo to come in. They're telling Jorge Lorenzo to come in on the next lap. Stay with us. This is going to be one hell of a last 11 laps here at Misano.
Is Lorenzo going to heed the warning of his team?
So Lorenzo is going to come in. Lorenzo, maybe will Valentino Rossi come in as well? 10.5 laps to go here in Italy. The weather playing a big part. The two Yamahas, the fight we wanted, they're out at the front.
Here's Aleix Espargaro looking up at the skies. He doesn't know what the weather's going to do. Now, Lorenzo's been told to pit in by his factory Yamaha team, but will he do it? Because Valentino Rossi, surely Lorenzo's got to make his choice based on what Valentino Rossi decides to do. The two factory Suzukis back in pit lane. They're switching back to their slick shod GSX RRs as Valentino Rossi comes through turn number 11. He's up by over half a second. Marc Marquez really struggling to run the pace of these two Yamahas. Marquez has slipped back by almost 2 seconds.
It's decision time for the two riders that lead the World Championship on the Yamahas. Dylan, they're there in pit lane.
Yeah, it's not raining. They shouldn't have any drops on their visor. You'd imagine they'd come in.
Look at the front tyre, Valentino Rossi. It's completely shredded. Sorry, then you can just see chunks of rubber coming off of Rossi's front tyre. He stayed out. Rossi has not come into the pits. Valentino Rossi, his crew look on.
Marquez is in. Marquez is in.
Marquez is in on the Honda, but the two Yamahas have stayed out. Marquez in, Rossi and Lorenzo continue. How long can they continue? We saw the rubber coming off Valentino Rossi's tyres. They're just telling Marc Marquez, be calm. Great change of bikes. Marquez back out there. Who knows? We just don't know what's going to happen with the weather, but time is running out. Just what must be going through Rossi and Lorenzo's mind. It's probably easier for Lorenzo in many ways, because he is not going to make a decision until the man at the front does, is he? Well, that didn't work in, did it? He didn't take any notes of that one.
He has to base his decision on what Valentino Rossi's doing. Yeah. You know, they are the two that are fighting for this World Championship. Marc Marquez, he can gamble. He's come back in to change back to his slick shod bike. What it means is that Danilo Petrucci, at the moment, is heading for a second successive MotoGP podium finish, because he is up into third. Dani Pedrosa in fourth.
And of course, Valentino Rossi, in a way, you know, it's obviously harder for him to adjudge because he has Lorenzo behind him. But, you know, essentially, he's only racing Lorenzo because to him, it doesn't really matter if Marquez wins as long as he's ahead of Lorenzo.
No, absolutely right. But obviously wants to win. Fascinated, just absolutely brilliant. Turn 14 and those 12, are there dry lines? Is he going to come in?
He's just looked. He had a look to see where Lorenzo was. I think he's thinking about coming in. Has he built up a big enough lead? What Rossi's probably thinking is, I need to be a couple of seconds clear of Lorenzo before I do come in. He's gone round again. Rossi has stayed out. He's built up a lead now of almost 2 seconds over Jorge Lorenzo.
And Lorenzo will not make a move until Rossi does. He will wait. Now, can we throw Marc Marquez in there? He's now out on the slick tyres. And as you say, the lap times on the slick tyre boys, Loris Baz and Brandy Smith in particular, you know, must indicate that you should come in, but, you know, he's holding the advantage.
Petrucci back in. He was running in third place, Danilo Petrucci. What Valentino Rossi might be thinking is he needs to just have a buffer ahead of Jorge Lorenzo so that when he does come into the pits, he'll be able to change his bike and get back out onto the track clear of Lorenzo. He doesn't want risking any change of position, because look at Rossi, he is absolutely blitzing away from Jorge Lorenzo. It's almost half the length of that back straight down into turn number 8 for the first time in this race. 8.5 laps to go. Jorge Lorenzo trails Valentino Rossi by over 2 seconds.
Bradley Smith is absolutely flying. He's now up into 7th place. This tyre choice and when to come in. Wow. Well, the biggest choice has got to be made by this man. He looks behind once again. He wants to know where Lorenzo is. He's probably having a look at the big screens as much as he can as well, just to work out. You do imagine he is going to have to come in at some point. How's the weather, Dylan?
Yeah, he doesn't want to make the bike change, Valentino, and risk being overtaken by Jorge Lorenzo. He had another good long look over his shoulder. I'm sure he'll have another look at the big screens now as he comes through turn number 14. Are we going to see Valentino Rossi now come into the pits? Rubber flying off the front tyre also of Jorge Lorenzo. Surely they can't carry on these wet Bridgestone tyres on this drying track.
Here is Marc Marquez, who is out on the slick tyres.
No, Rossi stayed out. He stayed out.
Thank you, Dylan. Here is Marc Marquez.
Lorenzo's in. Lorenzo's in.
Wow. Right, Lorenzo in. Lorenzo's obviously thinking, right, I've got to go for it now. I've got to take that. Jorge Lorenzo is in. Quickly swaps over to the bike with the slick tyres. He started with that bike. He then had to switch to the bike with the wets, and now he's back out with the slick.
And interestingly enough, they have switched to the medium front tyre. Do you remember they were on the hard beforehand? Well, they know in these cooler conditions, so now got a medium front in there.
I cannot believe that Valentino Rossi will not come in on the next lap now. He's obviously had a look at the screen.
Yeah, look at this.
He obviously knows.
Marc Marquez is out on slick tyres. He's almost 10 seconds faster than Valentino Rossi. Rossi, as he left it too late, it was a big gamble by the World Championship leader. Bradley Smith now is up into the podium places. He's 11 seconds faster than Valentino Rossi. Everybody now has come in for a second bike swap, apart from the race leader, Valentino Rossi. Surely Rossi is going to have to come in this time. He's giving up way too much time compared to those riders on slicks. He's been told before, box by his team. He comes through turn 11. He has to come in this time, surely.
What a big decision this is for the 36-year-old Italian. Here he is through the Cavoni corner, coming down now through turn 12, 13. He must know that that rubber is pouring off his front tyre, ripping into the rubber on the drying surface, wet weather tyres. We're about to find out if he is going to go in.
Yeah, he's going to come in surely, because he's only 7 seconds clear of Marc Marquez. He had no choice, Valentino Rossi, but to come into the pits. Is it 1 lap too late, though? Because now what this means is we'll have a podium of Marc Marquez, Bradley Smith, possibly Loris Paz. Rossi in the pits, though.
Rossi in. Has he timed it right? Has he timed it wrong? Marc Marquez now leads the race. Marc Marquez, you've got to say, made the choice well. Rossi is back out with the bike with the slicks. There is 7 laps to go.
Oh, what's this? Is that Lorenzo? Jorge Lorenzo has crashed. I thought that was a factory Yamaha. Drama in the MotoGP World Championship. Disaster for Lorenzo. He's crashed out of the Misano Grand Prix. Huge moment in the 2015 MotoGP World Championship. Lorenzo out of the race.
Jorge Lorenzo out. Valentino Rossi now. Whoa, that is a big crash coming through turn 15 for Jorge Lorenzo. Lorenzo out of the race. Where is Rossi going to find himself now? I'm sure they're going to tell him that Lorenzo is out. Marquez surely is going to win the race. Boy, we could have Bradley Smith and Loris Paz. Lorenzo out. The team are telling Valentino Rossi that could be the moment of the World Championship.
What an incredible moment for Jorge Lorenzo. He was pushing on those slick tyres. It would have been his first flying lap. Big crash at turn number 15. There's been so many twists and turns in this MotoGP World Championship so far this year. That was another huge swing back to Valentino Rossi. What it means is this man we're riding with now, Bradley Smith, is in second place behind Marc Marquez. And Loris Paz, he is on the podium in third position. He had a couple of podium finishes here in World Superbikes last year. He'd have got pretty long odds on him being on the podium here today. But what drama. Rossi's going to see the board for the first time out. He'll see Lorenzo out.
Here's Bradley Smith running in second place. You got a glimpse very briefly there of Loris Baz, one of the very early riders back in to change back to the slick tyres. Scott Redding in fourth place. Valentino Rossi, well, let's see where he's going to come across the line. But the big news that is Lorenzo is out of the race, and he'll just pick up some World Championship points.
Rossi
He's in fifth place. He won't be too disappointed. 23 points then would be the advantage for Valentino Rossi. He left it late to come, and it may have not been the right decision, but he's vindicated. But of course, Lorenzo was back out there on the slick tyres when he crashed.
Jorge Lorenzo never finished outside of the top two here in Misano. He's finished this race in the gravel, and with his World Championship hopes hanging by a thread. Here's Marc Marquez. He is going to potentially take a first ever MotoGP victory here in Misano. There's his father, Julian. Calm down, Mark, calm down. Marquez in as those wet tyres, but deteriorating grip in the dry. He was really struggling to run that pace of Rossi and Lorenzo. Here we go, we're on board with Lorenzo, turn 15.
Yeah, it's the left-hander coming up now after the series of rights. Oh, big crash for Jorge Lorenzo. Turn 15, he'd just gone out on the slick tyres, and he...
Well, with that crash, as he rolls through the gravel, that's a massive blow for Lorenzo's World Championship hopes. Masahiko Nakajima on the right-hand side of your screen there, the Yamaha boss. He knows what a massive moment that was in terms of the championship. Marc Marquez has started lap number 24 with 5 laps to go. Marquez, Bradley Smith and Loris Baz on the podium. Scott Redding heading for what would be a career best fourth. In fact, Scott Redding could be heading for the podium because he's only 1.6 seconds behind Loris Baz, and Redding on that previous lap almost 3 seconds quicker than Baz. We could have two British riders on the MotoGP podium here today in Misano.
There was Marquez, followed by Smith. So Smith stayed out, didn't he? Quite a long time on the slick tyres early on before he came and changed to wets.
Yeah, he essentially spent very little time on the wet tyres, probably some of the fewest laps of everyone out there.
Here's Redding now closing right up on Loris Baz. This is the battle for third place. As you can see, Baz desperately trying to hold on to what would be an unbelievable career first MotoGP podium. There is Scott Redding. Don't forget, Scott Redding has crashed out of this race early on, didn't he? Or was that in the...
No,
he was, yeah.
yes, he did.
Yeah, there's so much has happened.
Oh, keeping track of everything. Dylan, you've done a great job. You've kept us sane here, I think, with exactly what's going on. Does look like almost inevitable that Scott Redding is going to take third place. There's 4.5 laps to go. What a great result for Scott Redding. Forget the conditions. You take advantage of the conditions that are thrown at you. And they've obviously made some very good decisions. Marc Marquez, Bradley Smith. Bradley Smith crosses the line, less than six seconds down on Marc Marquez. He's in a very safe second place. And Marquez chasing that first ever victory in the MotoGP class. But the big news here, 1, the weather, and 2, the crash of Jorge Lorenzo. And here comes Redding.
Redding up the inside of Loris Baz at turn number 2. That's the battle for third place. It's Scott Redding there now who takes over. He scored a career best 6th place finish last time out at his home Grand Prix at Silverstone. Is he going to take a career first Premier Class podium here in Misano? He's been much quicker than Loris Baz over these last couple of laps. Back with the race leader Marc Marquez, who's a pretty comfortable 5.8 seconds clear of Bradley Smith. In fact, the lead now between Marquez and Smith up to just over 6 seconds.
Dylan's probably going to come on now and tell us it's starting to rain again.
No, don't jinx it. No, I've spoken enough about the weather today. It's dry. Let's leave it at that.
What a remarkable race. Choice of when to come in, circumstances. And then, when all that had been done, you've got to say, and they were out on the slick tyres, it's Lorenzo that made the big mistake.
He did make the mistake. He lost the rear, didn't he, going into this turn number 15. We thought he might have lost the front. He actually looked like the rear just came round at him in the braking zone for turn number 15. Here's Marc Marquez then, coming to complete lap number 25. 3 laps to go. He's going to be around 6 seconds clear of Bradley Smith in second place. Smith on course for what would be only his second Premier Class podium finish. He was third at the Phillip Island Grand Prix in Australia last October.
And safely away now, the battle for fifth between Rossi and Petrucci. Petrucci, he didn't want to get near Valentino Rossi at Silverstone, didn't he? I don't know if he wants to do that now. Rossi would have wanted to win, but he's increased his lead in the World Championship. And you've got to say, he can fix most things here, and he must have fixed the weather, because he really did fancy Jorge Lorenzo to win this race in the dry. I'm sort of lost now. It started in the dry, didn't it? Then we had the wet, then it went back to the dry. That's right. I mean, Lorenzo was piling on the pressure in the dry, wasn't he, before the rain started to fall?
Yeah, I think we've had a season's worth of drama in the opening 26 laps of this race here in Misano. There's Iannone, the 2 factory Ducatis of Iannone and Dovizioso. This is a battle for 7th place. Alessia Spargo's also involved in there, so is Cal Crutchlow.
There we go, there's Alessia Spargo. Early man in, wasn't he, to change back to the slicks. He made that early decision. I mean, it's very, very hard. It's sorted out a bit now. You can work out exactly what's happening. But at one point, I looked down the timing screen. Bradley Smith, I think, was 18th. And it just completely changes making those decisions. And I think, as you said, Dylan, he was a man that spent the least time actually out on the wet weather tyres.
No, exactly. You know, I think you know, the stroke of genius from the riders essentially wasn't really so much when they switched onto the wets. I don't think it was more when, you know, those that came in early for the dry.
Yeah, perhaps Valentino Rossi, he'll be happy. 5th place would suit Valentino Rossi, but perhaps if he'd come in a little bit earlier. Marc Marquez came in earlier, didn't he? And you saw what happened to him. He's running away with the race victory. Good battle between the 2 Ducatis here. Andrea Iannone and Andrea Dovizioso. Oh.
Big moment for Iannone on the brakes going down into turn 16. Scott Redding has got what looks like a pretty safe and solid 3rd place, a career first podium in MotoGP coming up for the number 45, because he's broken. Oh, massive moment on the brakes for Iannone. Redding has broken Loris Baz. He's 3.3 seconds clear of the Frenchman, who is by far the leading open class rider in this race. Valentino Rossi still in 5th place. Danilo Petrucci, though, he's not going to let him have it all his own way. It's a bit of a repeat, like you said, about Silverstone.
Yeah, but I'll tell you, he's not going to get in his way either, isn't he? No. They're good mates, and he just knows that, let's leave it. Bradley Smith, 2nd place. You say it would be his 2nd podium finish. That a remarkable season, but even Bradley Smith, who's pretty optimistic, would have never guessed that he is going to finish on the podium here at Misano.
Yeah, I think if Danilo Petrucci wants to save passage out of this Misano circuit, he'll sit behind Valentino Rossi, won't he?
Here's Marc Marquez, 1 lap to go. Brilliant ride by Marquez, brilliant tactical ride by, you say him in the team, but it's the riders that make the decision. There's no radios in MotoGP. The riders and the riders only have to make these crucial decisions.
Bradley Smith about 2.5 miles away from his 2nd MotoGP podium. Scott Redding 2.6 miles away from what would be his 1st Premier Class podium. Scott Redding is now 5.3 seconds clear of Loris Baz. Here's Valentino Rossi coming through the final corner. It's going to be his 1st non-podium finish of the year, but still massive for his World Championship, with Jorge Lorenzo crashing out in this rain-affected race in Misano.
Here is Marc Marquez down through turn 7 now, coming down towards turn 8. I mean, look at the difference in the track conditions. What was that? 20 minutes ago?
There can't be any more drama, can there, surely? Well, Marquez is going to take this victory by over 7 seconds from Bradley Smith.
So Marquez safely through. Surely now he's going to secure his 1st ever victory here at Misano in MotoGP. He has won here previously in 125 and Moto 2. The team prepare for his arrival. Marquez has timed this to absolute perfection. Marc Marquez back to winning ways through turn 16. Marc Marquez wins here in Misano. The big loser, though, is Jorge Lorenzo. What a day for the British riders.
Bradley Smith crosses the line. Joy for the 24-year-old. 2nd place for Smith. And Scott Redding now comes through turn number 16. Two British riders on a Premier Class podium here in Misano. Scott Redding third. He crashed at the start of this race. He's on the podium. Valentino Rossi there coming through turn number 16. These are going to be priceless points for Rossi in the championship. Credit to Loris Baz, a magnificent career best fourth place from the Frenchman. Rossi over the line in fifth, Petrucci sixth. Rossi will be disappointed he wasn't on the podium, but in terms of the World Championship, it was huge with his teammate Jorge Lorenzo and closest rival crashing out of the race.
When we got up this morning and drove into the circuit, what, 6:45 this morning, the sun was coming up, wasn't it, over the Adriatic Ocean. We thought, what a truly brilliant day of weather. Boy, the weather's played a big part. Marquez rode quite brilliantly and made all the right decisions. Amazing results for Bradley Smith and Scott Redding.
Well, when you spoke in the warm-up, Nick, about mayhem in Misano, you weren't wrong, were you? You're not even anybody could have predicted the drama that we just saw there. 48 minutes and 23 seconds of pure theatre in MotoGP. Marc Marquez taking the victory here. Bradley Smith, he can't contain his jubilation. His first podium finish since Phillip Island last October. As we always say, like Danilo Petrucci did last time out at Silverstone, you've got to race the track, you've got to race the conditions in front of you. He's a pretty happy young man, I think.
Yes, but you're so right. You take what's thrown at you. You have you can't decide the weather. Perhaps Valentino Rossi can in this part of the road. Nobody else can. So you take full advantage, and absolutely brilliant ride by Scott Redding. Cal Crutchlow, I think he's going to come up. Yeah, he is. And give Cal Crutchlow his due. He came up and shook hands also with Bradley Smith, didn't he?
He did, yeah. Gracious there from Cal Crutchlow. Confirmation of first MotoGP podium for Scott Redding, the 22-year-old from Gloucestershire in England. Well, it was a 6. Here we go. This is Scott Redding crashing out of this race. If you'd have said to Scott Redding right there as he topples over into the gravel on lap 6, don't worry, Scott, you're going to finish on the podium.
Yeah, you're having a laugh, mate. That's what he would have said, I can tell you. Yeah, it was that type of day, but the big loser today is Jorge Lorenzo. It's still only 23 points, but boy, that's an important 8 points, isn't it, for Valentino Rossi to open up over Jorge Lorenzo.
Shake of the head from Scott Redding.
Sorry, not 8 points. We're talking 12 to. No, I am caught out now. I'm completely. My maths have gone. Here we go. 247, 224.
23.
That's correct.
That's 1-1 now in terms of the maths this week. I got you back.
You have got me back. Yeah, I did mess that one up, didn't I? Marquez in third place. You know, only hanging on to fourth place in the championship. They were celebrating with Valentino Rossi. Yeah, he's going to be disappointed, but.
Did he stay out one lap too long?
I think he probably
did. When he looks back, he'll
he?
probably reflect on that and think, yeah, could have come in a lap or maybe a lap or two earlier.
Marquez made the right decision when to come in, didn't he? There was no doubt. I think he made a conscious decision to follow the Yamahas at one point and then decided to come in. Loris Baz, what a performance by him. Scott Redding crashes out and then finishes third. Marc Marquez wins for the very, very first time here in Misano. I think we've seen as much drama in a 28-lap race that in other motorsports you see in the whole season.
Yeah, that was absolutely edge of the seat stuff throughout, right from the word go. A 49th career win for Marc Marquez, the 23rd in his Premier Class career. No wonder the Mark VDS team was celebrating when they saw Scott Redding.
You know that contract you got for Premier? He's just ripped it up there, Michael Bartolome. He said, no, we don't want you to go.
Yeah, get me the Tipex. I'm going to scrub my signature out.
Yeah, what a ride by Bradley Smith. He's had a fantastic season, but just like Scott Redding, I think he was down in 18th place at one time. Second place for the 24-year-old British rider. Two British riders on the podium. Dr. Martin Rains will be telling us the last time that happened. I dare not think.
80 great scenes for the likes of Bradley Smith. Joy for Tech 3 as well. There's Alexei Masbou down there, of course. Frenchman, he got a lot of friends in that French-based Tech 3 team. Not the result that Valentino Rossi would have wanted, a 5th place here in front of that record crowd of almost 93,000 fans. But boy, did they witness some drama in that 28-lap race. And they'll still go home pretty happy because Valentino Rossi extended that World Championship lead to 23 points. There's
his dad, Bradley's dad, Alan, giving him a big hug.
He was in floods of tears at Phillip Island last year, wasn't he? I wonder if he'll be able to hold it together this afternoon.
Yeah. Be prepared for a bit of celebration when I get home to Oxford. Both of us are Oxford boys.
Yeah, well, there's Loris Baz, top open class rider with a brilliant fourth. There's Valentino Rossi.
He is, of course, he's bright enough. He'll know it's been a really, really good day's work, Valentino Rossi. And Scott Redding and Bradley Smith. Well, they've had some great battles, 1-2-5s, Moto 2. And now they are on the podium.
Yeah, that's great to see because they've been big rivals, haven't they, out of the UK for some time, Bradley Smith and Scott Redding. And good also to see Cal Crutchlow offering his congratulations to both on the slowing down lap. But there was a man who got his tactics absolutely spot on.
Hasn't always happened, has it, Mark Marquez? Remember Aragon last year? They stayed out too long, and then there was Phillip Island when they messed up the number of laps they were meant to go. That was perfect timing. Valentino Rossi, perhaps not perfect timing, but Lorenzo has crashed. He has a 23-point lead in the championship with 5 rounds remaining. He's going to have to go to the pits now, isn't he? Not to Parc Ferme. That is going to make life even more difficult. And the day is pretty difficult there already, isn't it?
For the first time, Valentino Rossi is not on the podium in MotoGP since he crashed out of the Moto and Aragon round almost 1 year ago. But a real precious 11 points picked up there by Valentino Rossi. So easy in those conditions to make a mistake. It's difficult as the World Championship leader. When do you come in? He was told to box. He perhaps felt that he could have gone on, you know, do you carry on the wet tyres? Is it going to rain again? It's all adds to the pressure and the stress of what's already a pressure cooker atmosphere for the riders like Valentino Rossi.
Yeah, and as we said before, there's no radios in MotoGP. Only one person makes the decision when to come in, and that is the rider himself. And you'd think they got enough on their plate to start worrying when they're going to come in. Loris Baz, I tell you, has had an absolutely brilliant debut season in MotoGP.
Yeah, when the opportunity presented itself, he grasped it with both hands. That's all you can do.
So, Scott Redding, first podium finish, and he crashed out in the race as well.
Well, Scott, your first ever Premier Class podium, and would you have believed it, especially after what happened at the start of the race?
No, not at all, you know, and I was out and I thought, anyway, I have nothing to lose. So I was pushing wet, and I got on the brakes and I locked the front, went straight, dropped it in the gravel, and I tried fast as I could to get the bike back on the track. Then I thought, okay, I'd come in for the rain. I anyway have no race. So I kept pushing, and I thought, the rain tyres aren't working. I just come in for the dry one anyway, nothing to lose. Then I saw the positions coming down, lap time was good. Catching Baz, and then, yeah, I'm there.
Congratulations, Scott.
Amazing performance there by Scott Redding. Crashing out, but still finishing third in the race. And here we are, Bradley Smith in second place.
Well, Bradley, your second ever Premier Class podium. Under what circumstances? I mean, first we thought you were crazy when you stayed on the slicks for that long, but you know you must have had some really good feeling with the tarmac.
No, I'm not gonna lie to you at all. I went 1 lap too late and then 2 laps too late, and I'm just like, right, I'm in this for the long haul now. I'm just gonna stay with it, and I just kept on telling myself, you know, luck favors the brave, luck favors the brave, luck favors the brave, and I couldn't believe it. You know, I thought that with, you know, the fact that they were going to do 2 pit stops, I never expected to be able to be on the podium, but I thought, you know, maybe a top 6 was possible, but I come round and there's P2 on the board. But amazing feeling, and, you know, just taking a gamble and going for it, going for your gut instinct, which is what I've always been told, so it was good.
Congratulations. Thanks, Bradley.
Yeah, he did, didn't he, Matt? He went for his gut instinct, and it paid off. Absolutely nothing to lose. That's it. He's not chasing the championship. But Marc Marquez, his first ever MotoGP win here at Misano.
Well, Mark, your first ever win here in Misano. Absolutely crazy race. Tell us about that moment. You were behind the Yamahas. You looked like you were following them, but then you said, no, I've got to switch to dry.
Yeah, I was behind Yamaha for try to check how was the asphalt and how was the tire. And I saw that Lorenzo and Valentino had a big degradation too. And then I saw also that my bike started to move and I was losing time. I said, okay, now it's time to change the tires. And when I changed, then I saw that the track was completely dry. But it was difficult to understand because this asphalt is a new asphalt and was really dark. But nice to be here again on the podium, and you know the target was the victory, so we did, and we are really happy.
Congratulations, Mark. Thank you.
I'm going to go and have a lie down in a darkened room now.
I think I might join you if that's okay.
I was going to have a beer, but I think this evening, but I think, well, I'd probably better just leave that alone. What a day. I just could not believe to start with that the rain arrived after all the weather we've seen. And then it started to, well, we were amazed what it must have been like for the riders, but well done, Mark. As I said, they've made mistakes before. He has, not coming in early enough or not counting the right number of laps they made. They were absolute right call today. Valentino Rossi, yeah, perhaps he left it too long, but with Lorenzo crashing out, he has a 23-point lead in the championship with 5 rounds remaining. What an amazing day we've had here in Misano. Probably got an amazing day getting out now as well.
Yeah, it might take you 24 hours to get out of the circuit with those 93,000 fans. But as we said, there were no tickets available on race day, but those lucky ones that did get in to see the action today, whew, boy, were they treated to 3 absolutely dramatic races, none more so in Moto GP.
Big thank you to Dylan as well down in pit lane. What a sterling job. Because, boy, they were coming in all directions.
He's worn out a pair of shoes in that MotoGP race, hasn't he, I think?
Certainly has. Fabulous race for all sorts of reasons.
And this is one of the key moments. Jorge Lorenzo, well, he's undergoing some treatment in the medical centre, X-ray examination. It was a huge crash for Jorge Lorenzo, a suspected right-hand injury. So that's a fast crash in the dry, down at that turn number 15. Yeah, you're up to 160 odd kilometres an hour down there.
Jorge Lorenzo.
Might have had the hand injury when he punched the
ground.
I was
going to say, I didn't want to joke, but you're absolutely right. Look,
he's so frustrated. He knows how pivotal that moment could be in the final reckoning in this World Championship, because Valentino Rossi, he has had a bigger lead, of course, in the World Championship this year. It was 29 points after round 3 in Argentina, but this is as big as it's been since that 3rd round in South America.
Yeah, and we're getting nearer and nearer the end of the season, aren't we? It was a long way to go then. So Marc Marquez is a 125cc winner here. A couple of Moto2 wins, but he's never won a MotoGP race. That's another one to tick off from him. There's only 2 left, isn't there, in MotoGP?
Yeah, Mategi and Phillip Island, so we'll be able to go for the full set, won't he, next month?
This is Valentine. I think Scott Redding's describing where he went down and how he got back on the bike. Amazing.
Yeah, it is true, mate. Yeah, I'm on the podium, but I did crash.
Yeah. As you say, that must have been the last. What, you'd have got 1,000,000 to 1, wouldn't you? Yeah. Yeah. So here we go. What an incredible podium. Marc Marquez on the top step. He's used to it. Bradley Smith, his best ever MotoGP finish, together with Scott Redding on the MotoGP podium for the very, very first time. Take a breath. You're not going to see many races like that, I don't think, certainly for the rest of the season. So the Constructors' Trophy back with Repsol Honda.
That race could fill the whole season DVD highlights, couldn't it? So much action.
In 3rd place, first time he's been on the podium. He said he was leaving Mark VDS. He's finished 6th, and now he's finished 3rd since he made that announcement. It's Scott Redding.
17th career podium for Redding, first in the Premier class.
And in 2nd place, the 24-year-old from Oxford in England. He's had a couple of podiums here in 125. Nothing like this one. Bradley Smith in 2nd place at Misano.
2nd MotoGP podium for Smith, the 25th of his World Championship career.
But for the first time, he stands on the top step of the podium in a MotoGP race at Misano. He's still the world champion. He's Marc Marquez.